Library of Heaven's Path. Chapter 26, Enlightenment Will Trial. Zhang Xuan, I didn't expect that your guts would be so inflated after not meeting for a day. Walking into the room, Shangbin surveyed the surroundings and noticed that the trash had managed to admit in 5 students. A savage expression flashed across his eyes as he sneered coldly, to dare to deceive Wang Yangziaja, Zhao Yaziaja and the others, as well as to coax the student of Cao Xianglishi to come under your tutelage instead. Where the hell did you find such courage? Shangbin Lishi? Cao Xianglishi? Seeing the few people who just barged in, Zhang Xuan frowned. I am in the midst of a lesson. If there's anything you want to say, please say them after the lessons. Lessen your head. Shang Shui came personally over, so what the hell are you acting so high and mighty for? Given your standards, it is already a blessing for the others to not be misguided by you, yet you talk about having lessons? You little brat who don't even know the basics, how dare you pretend like you're something big before us? Cao Xiang mocked Zhang Xuan coldly. Since the both of them were already hostile to one another, there was no need for him to put on an act anymore. Get out. You're not welcome here. Zhang Xuan narrowed his eyes. You are still continuing on with the act? Zhang Xuan, do you even remember your own surname? Shangbin laughed coldly. Quickly release Zhao Yaziaja and Wang Yangziaja from your lessons and reallocate Lu Yang back to Cao Xianglishi. If so, I might choose to back down and not teach you a lesson today. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you will have to spend this school term in a wheelchair. You want to make a move on me? Zhang Xuan glanced over. The academy forbids teachers from fighting one another within its compounds. Is Shangbin Lishi unaware of the academy rules? The academy rules are made for humans. Against others, I would still be worried about the consequences about flouting those rules, but towards you. Hee. Do you think that there would be anyone in the academy who would stand up for a trash like you? Shangbin declared with an expression that clearly spelled out his vile intentions. I get it. Is it because I offended you with my words yesterday, that's why you are intentionally seeking trouble with me now? Aren't you afraid that Shenbai Ru Lishi would be displeased by such actions of yours? Zhang Xuan harumphed. Hee, at least you are well aware of it. Since I have decided to teach you a lesson, of course, I won't be worried about you talking nonsense. Shangbin didn't deny it, and just as he was about to gleefully step forward to teach the fellow before him a lesson, he was interrupted by another furious voice. It's you. Yao Han's eyes turned red. Given how Zhang Xuan had offended Shangbin yesterday and Shenbai Ru Lishi was involved in the incident as well, if Yao Han was still unable to figure out the culprit who beat him up, even he himself would suspect that he was a fool. What? Seeing Butler Yao rage out when he was about to punish Zhang Xuan, Shangbin turned around to look at him, bewildered. Do you think that it is possible for you to be unaware of what you have done? Before Shangbin could react, accompanied by a loud roar, a fist smashed violently onto his face. The heck? Shangbin could only feel everything before him turning dark. The regions around his eyes bruised up. His body staggered for a moment before falling to the ground. To dare to beat me up to such a pathetic state, I will make you suffer for it. Recalling the agony he had undergone from the beating yesterday, there wasn't any hesitation in Yao Han's blows at all. Sitting onto Shangbin's body, fist after fist came raging onto him like a storm. Butler Yao. Everything occurred too quickly. Wang Tao and Cao Xiang were flabbergasted. Actually, they weren't the only ones who were taken aback. Even Zhao Ya, Wang Ying, and the others stared at one another in confusion. Just a moment ago, when these few people came over to find trouble with Zhang Lishi, Zhang Xuan's students were still quite enraged and had intended to stand up for him. Yet, before they could do anything, the other side started fighting among themselves. Wasn't this incident too bizarre? This was especially so for Zhao Ya. She was well aware of the personality of Butler Yao. he was a very dignified and rational person who handled problems systematically. Otherwise, her father wouldn't have possibly allowed him to become the butler of their family. But, what happened today? Why did he start beating up Shangbin before he could finish his words? Probably, the only one who knew what was happening was Zhang Xuan. The reason why he intentionally mentioned that he offended Shangbin yesterday and brought up Shen by Ru's name was to remind Butler Yao of the two features of his attacker yesterday. In the end, just as he intended, he made a move on Shangbin. Actually, this couldn't be blamed on Butler Yao for being rash. After all, no matter who it was, if they were to be beaten up out of the blue for no good reason, they would definitely hold some resentment in their heart. Furthermore, he was of esteemed position and represented the image of Bio City, so he had never suffered such injustice. To add on, he had been angered by Zhang Xuan multiple times these 2 days and his young mistress had been curbing him from assaulting him. Without an outlet to vent his frustration, it had been welling up in his chest. At this moment, when he had met his enemy, how could he stand it any further? Butler Yao, what are you doing? Feeling the fists crashing down onto him like raindrops, the confused Shangbin could only feel his vision going dark. He almost threw up a mouthful of fresh blood. What was going on? This was the first time he was meeting this Butler Yao and he shouldn't have offended him before, so why the heck was he so brutal? No matter how he tried to recall, he couldn't fathom how he could have possibly offended the other party. What am I doing? Stop acting ignorant here, are you not aware of it yourself? Pang 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 pang. Butler Yao's fist came landing one after another without any moment of rest. Shangbin was a high-level teacher and had reached the level of Fighter 5 Dan Dingley realm. Even so, there was still a distance between him and Yao Han's 6 Dan Pixie realm. He wasn't even a match for Yao Han in a normal battle, needless to say, a sudden assault. He was done in with just a single punch. Butler Yao, calm down, calm down. We can talk things through calmly. Only now then did Cao Xiang and Wang Chao regain their senses and they hurriedly pulled the both of them apart. At this moment, Shangbin's handsome face was swollen to the point that there was no difference between it and a pig's head. Damn it! Shangbin was about to explode from anger. Initially, he had intended to teach Zhang Xuan a lesson but never in his dreams did he expect the butler Yao from Bio City to suddenly go insane and assault him. At this moment, all of his accumulated rage channeled towards butler Yao. No matter what personal grudges the few of you may hold among yourselves, please settle it outside the classroom. This isn't a location for you all to fight it out. If you all do not leave now and continue to interrupt my lessons, I will inform the Central Education Bureau and call them over. Zhang Xuan spoke up. Fine. Just you all wait. Hearing that he would inform the Central Education Bureau, Shangbin turned around and walked away. If news were to spread about his current state, how could still possibly have the face to meet others? He must not allow any teachers to see him in his current state. Shang Shi. Shang Shi. Initially, Cao Xiang thought that it would be an easy task. With Shang Shi making a move personally, he would definitely be able to get Zhang Xuan to return his student. However, never in his dreams did he expect to see such a situation occurring. Cao Xiang hurriedly followed behind him. Soon, the two of them disappear from view. Uncle Yao, what are you doing? After the two of them left, Zhao Ya walked up and looks at her Uncle Yao, her face flushed red from anger. This Uncle Yao was normal in the past, so why was he getting more and more overboard nowadays? Young mistress, Yao Han didn't know how he should reply to Zhao Ya's words. After all, he couldn't possibly say that he had intended to sneak over to Zhang Xuan's dormitory in an attempt to castrate him but ended up getting bashed up by Shangbin instead, and he did a moment ago was to exact vengeance for that. Alright, I am still in the midst of the lesson. I would have to ask for the rest of you to leave. Zhang Xuan gestured. After hesitating for a moment, Yao Han, Wang Tao, and Old Lu left the classroom yet again. Damn it, damn it. After leaving Zhang Xuan's classroom, Shangbin cried out in anger, that Yao Han must be taught a lesson. Zhang Xuan as well. To dare to look at me contemptuously, he must be punished. As the grandson of an elder, his life had been smooth sailing all along. When had he ever suffered such injustice? Furthermore, the worst of it all was that he didn't even know the reason behind it. He was in the midst of talking when the other party suddenly rushed up to assault him in the blink of an eye. He found the scenario incomprehensible. That Yao Han must be an accomplice of Zhang Xuan. Otherwise, why would he make a move on Shang Shi? I think he must have been ordered to do so. Cao Xiong said. No doubt, that must be it. Shangbin agreed. He had never offended Yao Han, but the other party made a move on him without any warnings. It must be due to his declaration of wanting to teach Zhang Xuan a lesson. Are you sure that Lu Yang did not willingly acknowledge Zhang Xuan as his teacher? After a while, Shangbin calmed down and turned around to ask. I can ascertain that he didn't do it out of his own free will. Recalling the unwillingness on Lu Yang's face when he left yesterday, Cao Xiong replied confidently. Great. If you're that sure of it, go and apply for a enlightenment will trial. Shangbin said. Enlightenment will trial? This, Cao Xiong's face darkened. Enlightenment will trial was a special method to determine the allocation of a student who was vied by multiple teachers when the academy is unable to make a judgment. The student would undergo the trial of the Enlightenment Will Tower, and the Enlightenment Will Tower would reflect his true thoughts in the form of a confidence meter. If the student was proven to be unwilling to come under the tutelage of the teacher of the student would be punished. On the other hand, if it was proven that the one who applied for the Enlightenment Will trial was making a false report, he would receive an equivalent punishment. This was the final resort used when there was truly no means to determine the allocation of the student. Cao Xiong was aware of it, but he felt that things have yet to get to such an irreconcilable point. Why? Are you lying to me? Could it be that the fellow joined Zhang Xuan willingly? Looking at Cao Xiong's hesitant face, Shangbin's face darkened even further. No, he definitely did not join willingly. I will apply now. I will make sure Zhang Xuan will get what he deserves. Cao Xiong nodded his head. Then hurry up. Looking at his compliance, Shangbin nodded his head in satisfaction. When you are applying for it, make sure to raise the punishment to the maximum. This way, Zhang Xuan would be in for a tough time, perhaps he might even get fired. Punishment could be raised based on the applier's request. The higher the stakes were, the heavier the penalty on the side who failed the trial. All right? Cao Xiong's eyes lit up with excitement as he visioned the image of Zhang Xuan getting fired.